This is Wade, and you are in Wade World. So, our assassinations are new reality. If we think about the 20th and 21st centuries, we hear a lot about the New World Order is coming. Well, Wade is here to tell you that the New World Order isn't coming, it is already here. Our education system throughout the world in most countries only teaches us about some ancient history and as an interesting way, but it teaches us more about the world since World War One, World War Two, and so on. Well, World War One started with an assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which led to war in the Balkans. A lot of Europeans died. And the reason Wed says that this is a new world order is because assassination is, by its very nature, the first and most effective strategy of girls and girly men. If you want to see what world you live in, whether it's a masculine world of masculine men or a world of girly men, see what major assassinations have happened recently. In a masculine world, people go to war and honestly fight each other and kill each other. In a girly world, protests, revolutions, and assassinations predominate. We're going to give a couple of examples. So, World War I, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated because assassination implicitly abuses the trust that a ruler has towards his own people. So, if we can infiltrate those people by pretending to be one of them or stoke anger among them and jealousy and resentment, which is again a very female way of going about it. If you're jealous or resentful of your ruler, build up an army and challenge him, like Ragnar Lodbrok did, right? Assassination is literally the weapon of girly men and girls. Poisoning, shooting in the back, shooting from far away. So it's basically an attack where you are safe and the other person has no knowledge that you're going to attack them. Cowardly. Second big assassination that happened in the 20th century, a little history lesson for you all. Huey Long was assassinated. This was a very, very patriotic American who would have kept America out of World War II, which literally allowed the central bankers of this world to destroy Germany and everybody else who was fighting against central banking, which is the reason why you can't afford a home today, by the way. Central banking, look it up, and the debt based economy. That was the second assassination that was very important. The third assassination that's very famous that we can point to was the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Immediately after he was assassinated for bringing up a couple of points. Number one, Israel has too much influence in the United States. It's not, and Israeli lobby is not registering as a foreign agent. It hasn't registered to this date. Number two, America's immigration system was very restricted and kept America strong. Number three, America's currency was already devalued by the central bank known as the Federal Reserve, and JFK was trying to find a way around it. After he was assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson came on stage. The USS Liberty was attacked by Israel, and complicit in this attack was the Lyndon B. Johnson administration. So, number one, the Israelis did not register as a foreign agent, have never have. The currency that the central bankers wanted continued on its course, and JFK's plan was scrapped. Thirdly, JFK didn't want Israel to have nukes. They stole a lot of nuclear material and got nukes today. And the immigration restriction that had kept America strong, immigrants from only selective countries, were lifted and everybody was allowed to come to America, which destroyed America. Right? More recent we get, the more we can see the assassinations. So that's three famous assassinations that have happened in recent history that have had real world consequences. Number four, very interesting. The only Jew assassinated in Israel was by Israeli Jews themselves. It was the only prime minister of Israel who actually agreed to a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. He was assassinated by his own people. It's just these Jewish people have a history of assassinating their own do-gooders. Start, even before Jesus Christ, probably, but Jesus Christ was the biggest one, right? Number four, that was the number four assassination. It's hilarious. Number five, a lot of the assassinations that you see these days that are carried out under the guise of revolution, freedom, where somebody is deposed and they're basically, the media is sold a lie, the people are sold a lie, the country is looted, the country is destroyed, a central bank is put in, and then these leaders are tried in kangaroo courts, even in America, and hung. So Saddam Hussein would be a great example. Iraq had no WMDs, but it sure has helped Israel. And more recently, sadly, we can talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But Charlie Kirk was not extreme right. Charlie Kirk was very, very middle of the road right, big supporter of Jews in Israel. But the moment he started questioning them, he got assassinated. Take of that what you will. So we have been living for the last 125 years in a girly world where assassinations have replaced honest combat. So think about this, right? If you have, as a man, if you have a disagreement with another man, there is only so long you can talk, and then you're like, all right, let's settle this as men because you disagreeing with me, and if we both have facts on our side, is a challenge to the hierarchy. So let's go out, let's step out on the street, let's fight. Or if you're a nation, let's go to war, see who's right, right? That's a masculine way of dealing with things. Assassination is you disagree with someone, you smile at them, and then you go way back so that they can't touch you. They don't even know you're there, and then you shoot them or kill them from a distance. That is assassination. That is a coward's way because an assassin knows that they can't probably kill their target in hand-to-hand, masculine, face-to-face combat. Is it strategic? Sure, it's strategic. But the reason it's dangerous is because, as with all girly men approaches and effeminate approaches, it's an approach of chaos. There is no accountability. All of these assassinations that Wade has told you about, immediately after Charlie Kirk's assassination, you have to give some props to Candace Owens because she won't let it go. Because the script has been very girly again. Assassinate someone, the media of the time immediately tries to tell people this is why he got assassinated. Then there is a patsy. For example, in JFK's case, the patsy was Lee Harvey Oswald, right? And Lee Harvey Oswald kept denying he assassinated him. He's like, I didn't do it. Before he could actually get to the courtroom, he was killed by Jacob Rubenstein, a Jew. He's called Jack Ruby. And the Jew who killed the alleged killer of JFK later committed suicide. But you won't see this in the media. In fact, JFK's autopsy report was buried. Multiple reports saying, yo, this wasn't like some lone gunman. Just the entry and exit routes on his body don't show this a lone gunman. Even till this day, they buried it because it showed a massive complicity between the CIA, the Israelis, the mafia, and everybody else. But the prime mover here, again, there was no Italian guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, not a CIA agent either. It was a Jew, an Israeli Jew. So the script has been you assassinate someone in a setting that they are comfortable in. They don't know there is any threat. Their security usually is given false information or just straight up betrays them. Then the media immediately covers and says, oh, it's so sad, it's so sad. This is what happened. Number four, you find a patsy, like, oh, this guy did it. This guy did it, and here's all the proof. And if there's any other proof that is contrary to the proof of the people who assassinated him, the target, if that proof is scrubbed, nobody's allowed to talk about it. In fact, you didn't have the internet in JFK's time. So if you were actually saying I have proof, there was no TV, radio, or news that would cover you. Or if it cover you, it would be drowned out by the sea of TV, radio, and newspapers that would just call you a liar, right? So in the internet, it's different. And then finally, they just depend on people's willingness to just forget about it. It's been a couple of months, the dude died, any of these. And okay, I still have to go to work, I still have to live my life. And so it's been working very successfully until they have come across the modern day where people are coming up and adopting masculine ideal and saying, no, enough is enough. You guys have been lying since Archduke Franz Ferdinand, since the 125 years. That has led to two world wars, unlimited number of conflicts around the world, which has bled mostly Europeans dry, and then nonsense conflicts in the 21st century, which turned out to be based on lies and only benefited Israel, right? So people have started saying, like, yo, this is enough. You guys don't tell us anything. You just want us to believe like some incompetent people who keep denying they did it. And that's the case closed. Like, oh, this guy got angry and he killed the president. Really? What happened to this president's security? There is footage. We'll go to JFK because it's the most well documented. There is footage of JFK's Secret Service being called back before he was shot in an open car. So you can see these two guys, they're with the president, and then they hear something on the radio and they're like, what? That order was they'll fall back because JFK wants space. Now, if JFK is going to be killed, he's not going to be there to be like, who said that? I didn't say that. And you can see in the video, the Secret Service guys are like, what the hell is going on, man? Like, our duty is to be here, and you're telling us to fall back because the president said it? And, a few seconds later, the president gets shot and killed, so he's not there to punish the liar. So now people have been asking and waking up to this reality just with Charlie Kirk. But Charlie Kirk is not an isolated incident. This has gone back to every political assassination, almost every political assassination in the last 125 years. And you will see the same pattern in most of these high-profile political assassinations. Whatever government is there is disbanded and it is replaced by a liberal or a lefty democracy, and a central bank is installed that follows the central banking model of unlimited debt to a country. Every single time this has happened. There have been, if you want to track where these are the most direct, it's going to sound a little boring to you, but the Middle East, because Israel and Jewish people have been at the forefront of all these assassinations. Because if you cut out all the nonsense of all of these 4 or 5 assassinations we had mentioned, every single one of them, if you have seen the results of whom these people were a threat to and who benefited the most, it was in every single one of these cases a Jew, the group of Jews in the world, whether Israel or domestically or whatever. Just because they're spread apart doesn't mean that they're not interested or they don't benefit. This is just a fact. So assassination, by its very nature, is a girly man's weapon, an effeminate weapon of betrayal, poison, this and that. And now people have started saying, like, hey, your script of betraying, setting someone up, betraying somebody, blaming it on some incompetent person, telling people to shut up about it, and then hoping people forget, it's not going to work anymore because we have had it up till here with this girly bullshit. We don't trust you. We don't believe you. You lied to us from the 20th century, the beginning of the 20th century, and now you're lying to us in front of our eyes. And the cast of people surrounding the media coverage after each of these assassinations has always been very suspicious. WAYDE is not going to tell you there's going to always be some Jews involved in it, because they are, but even the non-Jews are quite suspicious. It's just a whole gang of weirdos and just weird people, not normal people. These people shouldn't be allowed in normal society, right? And they're just, oh yeah, we totally believe it. For example, Lyndon B. Johnson, the vice president of JFK, quietly undid all of the progress, the pro-American progress that JFK did days after he was assassinated. So this is a plan. And the same goes towards every single, this makes you think, right? Are all the vice presidents and deputy prime ministers in all these countries, which have powerful central banks, are they all just patsies who are waiting for the guy on top to be assassinated so they can step in and then do exactly what their masters tell them, which is going to be usually in America, if we talk about right now the Israeli lobby and Jewish interest, whether right or left, it doesn't matter. Right. So if your reality is that you are living in a time where if they can't stop you, they can't shame you, they can't bankrupt you, and they can't really take you out by force directly, then you are going to be at a high level of threat to be assassinated, then you should adjust your expectations accordingly. Now, most of you out there are not going to be in a position to be assassinated until you become an issue. However, one thing that in this reality really helps is, and Wade doesn't like using these words, but it's crowdsourcing. For example, again, we go back to the investigation, the true investigation, not the lying FBI or the cover up by the government agencies of Charlie Kirk's assassination. If you want a good breakdown of this, there are elements of Israeli involvement, obviously, FBI, CIA, military, French Foreign Legion, French involvement, Egyptian involvement. If you want a good breakdown of it, go to Candace Owens' podcast and see what she says. But even she is successful because she asks people like you, like, hey, if you know something, send me the information. And that is what you have to understand what the internet has done. It has decentralized our knowledge. Maybe you don't see the whole picture of, for example, Charlie Kirk's assassination, but maybe you know one point which really sticks out to you, and not a lot of people know about it. So you have one piece of the puzzle. Well, there are many people around who care and have many pieces of the puzzle. As long as you contribute those pieces, the puzzle can be formed into a clearer picture. The puzzle can be solved. So, we live in a world and we live in a time where masculine conflict resolution, diplomacy, argument, and war has been replaced by lies in the name of diplomacy, revolutions and protests in the name of war, and assassinations in the name of honest combat. And the people who are in control are absolutely happy with it. But here's the flip side. We can take the example of China and the imperial China as to where this leads. This leads to chaos. Again, girls, by their very nature, are an instrument of chaos. And girly men are the worst instruments of chaos because they have the girly brain of and interest in spreading chaos with the methodical planning of men, right? So in imperial China, there was a period of a couple of centuries where the emperor would rule for a short time. There would be massive conflict. Some of the generals would get together. They would assassinate the emperor. Then the most able general would become the emperor. Then the others would start plotting against this emperor. The emperor would start plotting against this. And it kept on repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. Now, a Jew wrote this book, Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. So you have to take everything they say with a grain of salt. Jews don't give out secrets for free, and not even in a book that makes them money. So Robert Greene is a Jew. He wrote this book, 48 Laws of Power. And in this, he mentioned the strategy that one of the longest reigning dynasties of China did. So the same thing happened. The previous emperor was assassinated, defeated. This guy became the new emperor. Now the generals who helped him, they're sitting at the table. And usually the first meeting after the assassination would lead to more assassinations of the people who assassinated the emperor, to cut out the competition. So sitting at the table, these generals are like, all right, we got together and betrayed our emperor and assassinated him. Now we made this dude his emperor. Now he's one of us and we're one of him. So he knows what we're going to do. We know what he's going to do. And they were all like terrified of the food. They could be poisoned. That would happen. They were terrified their throats could be slit from behind as they were eating. They were terrified they could be, marched out and hung. And you can't really have loyal people if at the end of loyalty lies death, right? So this emperor, allegedly, according to the Jewish author Robert Greene, and he's done his research, this Jew Robert Greene, the new emperor said, all of you are sitting here and I'm sitting here as the emperor enjoying a lavish meal, but not one of us can really enjoy it. Not one of us can taste it, not one of us can feel it. Because you sit there unhappy and wondering which one of you I'm going to kill, and I sit here unhappy wondering which one of you is going to kill me. So we have been through this cycle forever. Here's a new deal. How about you don't kill me and I don't kill you? I know we all killed the previous emperor, but I'm going to give you a huge amount of money, a huge amount of land, and let you retire in peace far away. So if you want to keep playing this game of being emperor, we can go ahead and do it. But take this deal because you've spent your whole life being stressed out. And I promise, unless you try to renege on the deal, I'm going to leave you alone. And the people, the generals, literally, for the first time, they thought, like, hey, you know what? Our dynasties have been emperors, generals, never had peace. You had all the wealth and all, but never a moment to enjoy it. This is not a bad deal because, yeah, it sucks. They took the deal, and that emperor and his dynasty reigned for the longest time because he understood. He was like, dude, at some point, assassinations lead to absolute chaos, and you cannot make order out of chaos, regardless of what the Mossad says. There is no order out of chaos. There is balance, but not order. So that was the approach that that emperor did, and that is where we're heading. If any head of state is a puppet, whether he's a puppet or not, can be assassinated if they don't follow the edicts and plan of the people who rule from the shadows, right? Like the DuPont family in Delaware is referenced in Candace Owens' video. It's the DuPont family, but they're Jewish. They call it the DuPont family, right? And if you live in a world where your motivation to become the leader comes with, yeah, either I have to be a puppet leader or I will be assassinated, then the only leaders you're actually going to get are going to be like, all right, I'm not going to be a puppet. I know I can be assassinated. And that kind of pressure puts on a special kind of leader on top. Currently, the world has maybe four of these leaders. None of them in the West, by the way. None of them in the West. All the Western leaders are afraid of being assassinated and are doing what they don't want to do under threat, under that threat. They're terrified of it, which is, a human condition. But also in the long term, people as a whole reject it because assassinations, they don't solve the issue, they just continue to exacerbate the agenda of girly men. Girly men, their prime purpose in life is to be weirdos, create chaos, not work, live off other people for taxation. So every assassination